This is the January 8, 2019 meeting of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission for the Town of Fairfield. I'd just like to announce for anyone that's here on the public hearing for 1521 Beacon View Drive, that's application of John and Dylan LLC. That has been withdrawn. It's without prejudice. We don't know when that's going to be brought back, if it will be brought back, but that will not be heard this evening. Okay. So the first item on the agenda are the meeting minutes from December 11th, 2018.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Francis. Second by Commissioner McAleese. Thank you. Any comments or corrections on there? I didn't see anything.
No,
okay. Commissioner Francis, my eagle eye. Good.
They looked okay.
Very good.
They read okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are adopted unanimously. Next item is the organizational meeting. This is our annual election of officers. Last meeting, this was tabled. Thank you very much, by the way, to all of you who stood in my absence and for pushing this off to this meeting. So the first office that needs to be nominated is for the chairman. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate you, Matt Wagner, to continue as chairman. You've been chair for the entire 6 years that I've been here, and I think you have the knowledge and experience to continue, and I place you in nomination.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Do we have a second?
I'll second the nomination.
Okay. So, I guess it's a nomination for chair, for Wagner for chair by Commissioner Corcoran, seconded by Commissioner McAleese. And thank you very much for your nomination. I appreciate that, and I'll do it for one more year if people want me to do it. Any other comments?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? I've been unanimously approved to chair the commission for another year. Thank you.
No good deed goes unpunished, Mr. Chairman.
So the next vacancy is for the vice chair. We've been lucky to have Commissioner Corcoran here as our vice chair for the last year. Done a great job. So I'll lead the way on this one and nominate Commissioner Corcoran for vice chair.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Noonan. That would be me. Any other comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Congratulations. Vice chair for another year. Next office is for secretary. We've had Commissioner McAleese here, who's been faithfully discharging his duties as secretary for the last year. Done a great job. Done a great job. Right, Dolores?
I would like to nominate Commissioner McAleese to
Okay.
serve again as secretary. He's graciously and generously shared his architectural expertise with us.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Francis. Appreciate that. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Noonan. Very good. Excellent. I don't think we need any more discussion on this one.
Nope.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Secretary for another year. Very good. Well, thanks, everyone. Next item on the agenda is 1645 Black Rock Turnpike, request of Harbortown Townhomes LLC for 100% release of a $73,130 bond pertaining to zoning compliance improvements in the A-zone.
Mr. Chairman, this is a 29-unit residential building not far from where we sit at the corner of Moritz Place and Black Rock Turnpike. It was approved in January of 2017. You do have a report from the engineering department that all the work was done. You may recall that there was an original condition of approval about modifying the traffic light and pedestrian crossing at Black Rock Turnpike as a condition of approval that was ultimately modified and stipulated to, because of the ongoing Black Rock Turnpike traffic study. And most of you, I hope, know that that study is now recommending eliminating the traffic light at that location. And the CO has been issued so that the obligation to upgrade that pedestrian crossing would not apply pursuant to the stipulation. So that condition has been met with whether or not it gets implemented remains to be seen, but the Black Rock Turnpike traffic study is recommending actually eliminating the traffic light at that intersection.
Thank you. I have a question, but let's, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner McAleese. Second by Commissioner Noonan. Ms. Pooley asks about some film over the pedestrian ramp.
Yes.
Has that been taken care of?
I looked at it a few hours ago. It has not, but I'm confident that's merely peeling the film off the top of that. I'm sure that can be addressed. And we can, this is a cash bond, so we can make sure that administratively that's done before the money changes hands.
May I make a friendly amendment to your motion to
Sure.
make this bond release conditionally approved
Yes.
on the removal of the film over the pedestrian ramp? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the motion's been modified with condition
I have a question.
and seconded. Yes, Commissioner Corliss.
So if the traffic changes are not made, what becomes of this requirement right there?
The stipulation that revised the original condition of approval was that the applicant had, if they posted an additional $10,000 as part of the bond, and if the study determined that traffic light should be upgraded and including a pedestrian phase crossing there, then that $10,000 would have been contributed to that. However, the obligation of the applicant also expired upon issuance of the certificate of zoning compliance or certificate of occupancy for the building. Basically, that if the study was going to continue on and on and on beyond the point of the applicant's performance of the work, that he wasn't obligated for that money to go towards that improvement. So in both cases, we have a report that's going to eliminate recommend the elimination of that intersection traffic light, and also his obligation expired upon the issuance of the certificate of occupancy pursuant to the stipulation.
So the upgrade in the intersection is dependent on funding that's uncertain, right?
Yes. Yes.
So if it ultimately doesn't happen, so what's happening here is that the applicant has lost the obligation to provide, what is it, a crossing if there is an upgrade?
Well, what happened, there was an appeal taken, if you recall. The original condition stipulated that a full pedestrian face signal be required. And after that was reviewed with the traffic engineer, I don't think anybody realized that the level of the magnitude of expense that would have incurred. So there was an appeal taken on that condition, and on settlement of the appeal, there was a stipulation that talked about the conditions under which they would contribute to that improvement, and they'd set aside a dollar amount of $10,000 that was part of this bond, that had the recommendation been, yep, we're going to keep this intersection and we're going to recommend that it be a fully ADA compliant pedestrian crossing there, then that $10,000 would have been a contributory amount to whatever that improvement would cost. Again, still subject to funding. But since the study is not making that recommendation and the project now is complete, under the terms of the stipulation, that money is no longer the obligation of the applicant.
All right, thank you.
It was a very good explanation of the somewhat complicated background. Any other questions for Mr. Wendt?
Not a question, but
Yes.
a quick comment. I was very pleased the way the project came out. It's attractive. for its size and its location. They did a nice job.
Very good.
Good.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. So the motion on the table is to approve with the condition. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? So the motion carries unanimously. Next is 760 Oldfield Road, review of a proposed purchase of land for recommendation to the RTM.
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to welcome Brian Carey to the table. He's the Conservation Director who has submitted these proposals for your consideration. Both of these are not yes or no approvals. They need action of the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, and RTM. And pursuant to statute, there's a recommendation required from this commission. A positive referral would yield a requirement of a simple majority vote of the RTM to approve either of these proposals. A negative referral would require a 2/3 vote of the RTM. So with that, I will let Mr. Carey explain the proposal.
Commission. Just for the record, I'm Brian Carey. I'm the Conservation Director for the town of Fairfield. First matter on the agenda that I'm here tonight for is 760 Oldfield Road. This was a grant that we received from the state of Connecticut. We submitted it last February, and we actually worked with the existing property owner to basically get an agreement in place before submitting the grant. I know that this matter was coming in front of the ZBA at one point for a two-family house that they were looking to build there. Mrs. Emmeline Harrigan tipped me off about that because of the requirements that it go through ZBA. It wasn't necessarily a slam dunk for them. We approached them. There was an interest in basically moving forward with the town to procure the property if and when we got the grant from the DEP Open Space Acquisition Fund. Generally, that takes about 6 months. The past 2 years, that's been taking about a year to get the funding in place. So we do have a purchase agreement right now to purchase the property. I'm walking this through all the boards and commissions. You can see, I believe you got a report, which is a 14-point. Yep. You can see that all the requirements, all the approvals that are required to purchase the property, it's quite extensive. So I have to go to Board of Selectmen, Conservation Commission, our Board of Finance, and RTM. The funding for this, the purchase of this property, will be coming out of the it's intended to come out of the H. Smith Richardson Trust Fund. So there will be no direct cost to the town for the purchase. Basically, there's several benefits to the purchase of the property. The first one being is it's in the flood zone. As part of the CRS program that the zoning department administrates, we're required to look at acquisitions in floodplains. This kind of checked multiple boxes. The property's also had a history with the conservation department. About every decade we go in there with the DEP and actually re-ditch most of the channels in there to positively affect mosquito breeding habitat, lessen it by allowing fish to basically come in and control the population naturally. And then the last thing is we don't actually own the area along the roadway where the bridge is, and that bridge is slated to be replaced within 10 years on the capital waterfall chart. So in the future, when the bridge over Oldfield Road is to be replaced, this is going to be this will have extreme benefit to the town in being able to use the property for a laydown yard, but also not have to get easements and grading easements and things like that. So we'd be paying for this one way or another, either short term or long term, and it's just going to keep us out of court to potentially, if the ZBA were to approve or not approve their decision. In the long run, it's just, for the price that we've negotiated through the purchase, it just seems to make sense. So I'm looking for a positive referral under 8-24 statute to the RTM and Board of Selectmen.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the majority, as you might imagine from the aerial, the majority of the site is marsh land. It adjoins existing town holdings that are marsh. There is enough upland to support the development. It is a rear lot, and that's what they were applying to the ZBA. They were applying for a two-family house. We were trying to reduce that down to a single-family house, but this purchase, as Brian indicated, touches a lot of bases, and we recommend your favorable review.
Thanks. Can you just point out on the aerial there, I looked on Google Maps, but it's a little confusing to me based on the description. Because I didn't get a picture. I just got the verbal description.
Yeah, so if you look in the packet, they actually had an A2 survey with the development plans prepared for the site. It's about halfway through the back.
Yeah. Well, I tried to look at that.
Yeah, so they cut that off just because of the size of the piece. So the upland area is basically in here. Most of it's been filled marsh. So when we haven't done a full assessment of the environmental that's being done right now. We're having a phase 1 environmental site assessment, but it is filled marsh, dating back to the 20s and 30s if you look at the aerial photography. But most of the property is tidal wetlands.
Okay.
And we have had instances in the past where, the DEP comes in and we normally have an agreement with them through the Wetland Habitat Management Program at the state level. Well, they'll come in and do work for us as part of their charge, but we have to get access agreements from people that own parts of the marsh.
Right.
And people in the past have said no, which causes a bit of an issue because the way we do manage mosquitoes in that area of the marsh is by creating habitat for fish that are able to actually eat the mosquito larvae, rather than going out there and larviciding the whole marsh, which is expensive, and it's not, as far as integrated pest management practices, that's kind of on the other option. That's the last ditch effort. If we can have a biological method to manage mosquitoes, it's much more costly economically, but also environmentally. So the benefits of owning the marsh for the town are that we don't need to seek these types of agreements. We can just go in there and do the management every 10, 15, 20 years as it's needed. So we don't own all the marsh. There's actually parts of it that are still privately owned, but when we can, we do try to take ownership of the open marsh. And most of this property, most of this area in here is open marsh.
Gotcha. Okay. That was helpful. Yes.
So on that map, it's the entire blue part we're talking about, right?
Yeah, so that's the entire property. It's hard to tell because the wetland mapping isn't completely accurate, but the upland area where they're planning to build a house, and it would need a CAM application, so it would come in front of you for that purpose too. They'd have to basically install a driveway right at the edge of the tidal marsh channel.
Right, but it's the entire blue area we're talking
The
about,
entire
not just the
blue
building
area
site.
Yep.
Okay, and where is the adjacent town-owned marsh?
So all of this is basically owned by the town. There's a couple areas back here and that aren't owned, but the town owns most of this area, and then down over here. So we would actually, the goal would be to just put a small walking path in there, and we talked about maybe getting some funding to put a bird blind in there, which is just kind of a raised platform to be able to look north over the marsh. That is kind of birding habitat that people would be interested in kind of watching. We have another area down here off of the Frank Rice Trail that people use for bird watching. So, and there's really, the cost to the town to maintain the property would be mowing it once a year, once or twice a year. It would be real minimal.
Is the prospect of a walking trail, or is that an afterthought, or is that in the plan?
No, it's in the proposal that I wrote to the
Yeah.
DEP.
Good.
You know, we want to keep it as natural as possible, but, you know, anytime we purchase open space, it's for the town residents to use, and we do want to encourage the use of that asset. You know, that's basically why we're going out to, I mean, this clicks a lot of boxes, but the, you know, the passive recreation of that, where we can fit that into something that we always strive to have.
Anyone else? All right. So the motion here is to recommend to the RTM that they approve the acquisition, which is the subject of this report. So well, either a positive or negative. I would advocate that it be positive, but I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner McAleese and seconded by Commissioner Corcoran. So moved by McAleese, seconded by Corcoran. Okay, that's a positive recommendation. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Passes unanimously. All right, thank you very much for that. Next item is 150 Trail Street, review of a proposed sale of town land for recommendation to the RTM.
So this one's actually
You
a
can just
sale of town property.
State your name for the
Yeah,
record again.
it's Brian Carey, Conservation Director for the town of Fairfield. Again, thank you for having me. This proposal is actually for the sale of 51 Trail Street. This property was acquired by the town in 1993 as part of a tax foreclosure action, and has really just sat there since that time. So the town has been approached by the adjacent property owner with the intent of purchasing the property. There were some deed questions about the street itself. He's interested in purchasing the right-of-way. Town doesn't actually own the right-of-way, so we had to do a little bit of a title search on the property. No one really knew that this was even town property until we started looking at it. It hasn't been maintained by the town. It's just kind of what we call an orphan piece of land. Goes through, the town takes it through some foreclosure action, or it's deeded over the town, no one knows, and it just kind of sits there. We went out and looked at it. It's pretty much solid rock ledge. It's a half an acre of land. There's no town sewer in this area, so it's all septic. The odds of putting a septic on there after looking at it are pretty much impossible. So we put it out to bid. We had an appraisal done before that, which you can see in your package, and no one bid on it at the appraised price, so we actually backed off the appraised price and dropped it to half the appraised price. The neighbor ended up bidding on it, so now we're kind of in a contract with him, and we have to, if you look at the RFP that was written, it stipulates the motions again that we have to go through in order to sell the property. But as these have been coming up over the years now, I think this is the second one we've done in the past 2 years. We had one on Fairfield Beach Road that was actually a similar tax foreclosure dating back to 1953. We send it around to all the departments and say, is there any use for this before we kind of dispose of it? And this one there really is no use for. So, I think I don't know what his goal is, but I think the idea is he wants to kind of take ownership of this because he's got a non-conforming lot as this. So you can see in the purchase price in the town bid, which is public information, is $32,518. I got to walk that through Board of Selectmen and then RTM.
Yeah, it's an interesting number.
It was exactly half the appraisal price.
There you go. Very good. Very good. Very good. Anything else? No. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. So again, the nature of the motion here is a recommendation to the RTM here with respect to the sale of the land at 150 Trail Street, either positive or negative. Okay, yep, Commissioner Corcoran?
I move that we recommend the sale.
Okay, very good. So moved by Commissioner Corcoran.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Noonan. Very good. Thank you, guys. Any further comment? Questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. The recommendation is passed unanimously. Thanks
you.
very much for your time.
Thank you.
One of the things I neglected to mention for the record, Commissioner Gordon has been sitting in for Commissioner Meyer all night. And so she has been voting and participating. So you have that. Okay? Very good. Thank you. All right. Next item is old business, Southport Terrace, Meadow Ridge Road, request of Special Properties 12 LLC to reduce a subdivision bond from $54,264 to $27,376.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this was a 19-lot subdivision approved through a settlement back in 2007 that created the two streets off of Mill Hill Terrace, Southport Terrace and Meadow Ridge Road. The original bonded amount for the improvements in this subdivision was originally $921,000. In December of 2013, this commission approved a 50% reduction in that amount to $460,000, and then in December of 2015, that amount was reduced from $460,000 to the $54,264 number that we currently hold. You do have a memo from, you probably don't have it in front of you, but you had it for the public hearing from the engineering department that they are recommending releasing or holding basically 27,376. There are 4 lots. All the streets are done. They're fully improved. There's homes on there. All but 4 lots have been built. So the remaining improvements are for the basically the drainage that's required for each of those lots. There are already driveway aprons built. So we're recommending the further reduction in this bond. It came before you as a public hearing because once you get beyond 50%, any further reduction requires a public hearing.
Very good, thank you. And for the record, I am fully up to speed on the public hearing from December 11, 2018. Listen to the tapes. So, okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Wendt. Can I have a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Levy.
Yes, to approve and reduce the bond to $27,376.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner McElhenney. Any questions, Commissioner Levy?
None.
None? Okay, further comments? Very good. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Next is 766 and 780 Old Post Road. Zone change application of Old Post Village LLC to establish a design residence district on land presently zoned Residence A and R3.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this is a companion application, obviously, with the next item for a special permit, but first order of business is the zone change application. The property subject to this zone change is 1.64 acres in size and is comprised of an existing 1.2 acre landlocked parcel at 780 Old Post Road, known as we'll call the current parcel, and by in a 50 by 300 foot or 0.35 acre piece of 760 Old Post Road, which I will describe as the Sterling Strip. The applicant intends to join the current parcel with the Sterling Strip to form a single parcel of 1.64 acres that is the subject of the zone change. There was some discussion early on at the first hearing raising the issue of whether or not the property line revision described constitutes a subdivision. Certain opponents thought that it did. We respectfully disagree. The current parcel and the Sterling parcel are 2 parcels as they are presently constituted, The Sterling Strip, which is to be joined with the current parcel, does not by itself create a separate parcel. The Sterling parcel will get smaller and the current parcel will get larger, but no new parcel is created as a result. There was some discussion at the last hearing. The applicant has clarified through the submittal of an assignment of their real estate sales agreement that that property, subject to the application, will be owned by a single ownership entity. That strip, that 50-foot strip, couldn't be a lot by itself. It doesn't comply with either the A zone or the DRD zone requirements. In the site plan that is appended as part of this special permit application clearly shows that there's no parcel boundary proposed between that strip in the current lot, So we're basically, so the issue with respect to the zone change, the standards you are well familiar with, is number one, is the proposal consistent with the plan of conservation and development? 2, does time, experience, and responsible planning for contemporary or future conditions reasonably indicate the need for the proposed zone change? 3, have circumstances in the neighborhood changed substantially to warrant the requested zone change? 4, has it been demonstrated that the proposal is warranted and would serve the general health, welfare, and safety of the town? 5, does the proposed zone change promote a level of development that would serve to protect property values in the neighborhood and enhance the community and accomplish a transition in character between areas of unlike character? And 6, would the proposed zone change permit a level of development that would increase undue traffic congestion? There was a valid protest petition filed during the course of this hearing. We analyzed that petition, and the result of that analysis indicates that they had more than 20% of the area of the lots within 500 feet represented on that petition. Therefore, a 2/3 vote of the commission, or 5 affirmative votes rather than 4, would be required to approve the zone change. That is all I have with respect to the zone change. I can stop there if you want to draw the line and talk with the special
I appreciate that.
next.
Yeah, I think they're separate items, and we've typically considered these, on their merits. First, with respect to the zone change, and then moving forward, with the companion application. So,
Okay.
so that's good. Thank you. So with that background, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Move to deny.
A motion by Commissioner Francis to deny.
Mr. Chairman, just as a point of order, whether we approve or deny of an application...
Can you use the microphone?
Certainly.
Yeah, I'll just say, also, I mentioned before that I came up to speed on the December 11th hearing by, listening to the tape. And it is remarkable how much easier and nicer it is to review the tape when people actually use the microphones. And, here sitting in this room when you're wandering around or you're, just kind of forgetting, we all can kind of hear and make sense of what's going on. But when, after the fact, when somebody has to actually go back and review those or make a transcript or something like that, I can tell you from very fresh personal experience, it's very nice when people use the microphones. So,
Thank
that
you.
having been said,
Yeah.
Commissioner Levy, point of order.
Just a point of order. Whether we approve or deny, or regardless of our feelings at this stage on an application, it's my understanding it should always be a motion to approve. Because with a motion to deny, if, let's say, one of us abstains and we have a 3-3 vote on a standard 4-3, we have then failed to pass a motion to deny. Does that mean we approve? No. So I think the prudent thing is, regardless of our feelings, to move to approve, and that way there's no question as to whether it's approved or denied, depending on the vote.
I understand the argument, and it's been raised before. In fact, at one matter I recall some years ago, we went through a motion to deny, which failed, and then a motion to approve was made, which then also failed, right? And the argument was that because the motion to deny failed, the item remained on our agenda, right? I mean, we did not, the failure of a motion is lack of action on something. And so I'm happy to go either way, but my analysis is that if a motion to deny actually carries, then in fact the commission has taken affirmative action on the item, and the item is denied. So the quagmire, if you will, only occurs if a motion to deny is made and fails, right? That's my analysis. But I'm open to hear others' perspectives on that, and certainly, Mr. Wendt, if you have any comments on that, you're welcome to chime in.
Well, I agree with your analysis that a motion to deny that fails needs to have a subsequent motion, so I agree with your analysis, and it's up to the commission how they want to proceed with the motion.
All right. So to that end, and I do appreciate you raising the issue, because it could happen that we might leave something open that might be confusing on the record. So with all of that having been said, and staff confirming that if a motion to deny actually carries, that our action is dispositive, and it's clear for the record that has been taken on the item, the motion's been made, why don't we entertain whether there is a second in the offing, and if in fact it carries, then I think we're good.
I'd just like to add, would a motion to deny require 5 votes in this case?
I believe it would, because the petition, sorry, please go ahead.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, a motion to deny would only require a majority, not a supermajority. It would only require a supermajority to affirmatively approve a zone change.
Gotcha. So that is a technical advantage to a motion to deny as opposed to a motion to approve, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I can see that as well, right? Because you're actually affecting a zone change, so the petition requires a supermajority. But if you're denying it, why do you need a supermajority to deny? Yeah. So that makes sense. All right. So are we satisfied with that? Yeah? Okay. Are you satisfied with that? Yeah. Okay.
So, maybe not. So are we staying with the motion that's on the table right now, waiting for a second? Is that the idea?
We haven't had a second yet. I'm still waiting to hear if we may not.
I mean, based on what Mr. Wendt just told us, with respect to the petitioners who are forcing the 5 affirmative votes, maybe the offering on the motion on the table should be an affirmative motion.
And to
I don't know the legal side
well,
of that, but it
listen,
seems...
to the extent that the commission, as a group here, thinks it sort of better in terms of our sort of messaging, and communication with the public and the applicant on the application, that we withdraw and that we have an affirmative motion to approve that requires a supermajority, which then fails or not, then I mean I'm happy to go either way.
Yeah, it's been our practice to offer both approvals and denials. I think the only real quandary would be if the instance you just gave, 3-1 vote on both approval and denials. In this case, I mean, I think we can go either way. And I think we should at least I think we should go forward with the denial, hear if there's a second, and at least get the process started. Because I know that we have a very light agenda, and we should take advantage of that.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, well then, with that, I will second the motion on the table.
Okay. So the motion to deny is seconded by Commissioner McAleese. So Commissioner Francis.
Sounded like it was riskier to do it. Okay. I find this proposed development does not fit with the character of the Old Post Road district, nor is it consistent with the historic designation of the surrounding neighborhood. The site is not needed as a transitional zone between commercial and residential. It can support a single-family residence and comply with existing zoning. Granting a zone change to allow this degree of density is not something I'm comfortable with. There is some neighborhood support for the project, but most of the neighbors oppose the zone change, and this warrants consideration as we are asked to assign a new, denser, designed residence district zone classification to the property. The area is one of established single-family homes. Secondly, the traffic on the Old Post Road is very intense. The less we add to it, the better. Lastly, the condo design, while resembling some of the houses in the district, does not reflect the look of the many stately federal homesteads that are located along the Old Post Road. While this proposed design would be perfectly attractive in some settings, it is not well suited here. It more resembles an inn. Having the garages below the unit is particularly out of character in this neighborhood. The proposal does not harmonize with nor enhance the properties in the area. Therefore, I do not plan to support the zone change or the development plan, which is a moot point.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Commissioner McAleese?
Excuse me. Yeah. I actually don't have much more to add to that. Just looking at the bullets, the 6 points, is it consistent with the plan of conservation and development? I think enough concern has been raised about the immediate historic district, and I'm not sure that that point is proved, that it is consistent. I'm not sure that it is. Does time and experience indicate the need for the change? I don't see the need for the change. Have circumstances changed substantially to warrant it? I don't see that either. And then I think the Commissioner has addressed all the other issues, so I'm also going to vote to
Deny.
deny. Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Noonan?
I hesitantly also agree that this application should be denied, and I say hesitantly because I actually did like the project, notwithstanding the comments about a bit earlier, but I did like where it was. I did like, thought it was a good project by a good builder, and I thought it would be a good asset for the town. But going for it, it's just, the problem I have is it's not zoned for the intended use. And when I go through the standards for consideration of zone change, I get stuck up on the second and the third. Time and experience show that there's a need for proposed zone change. I just didn't feel as if there was enough evidence presented that a single-family house couldn't be built there, which is what it's zoned for. We saw this issue with the, was it Hail Mary restaurant, where we made a determination that there really wasn't any evidence showing that they couldn't do what they wanted with the zone that they had at that point. We've been told about contracts in the area among all the neighbors that this would be used for a single family. That seems to be what everybody expected this to be done. And I cannot get over the fact that there's not been any evidence as to why a single family house can't be put there. I appreciate any homeowner or property owner wanting to maximize the value of their land, but again, this seems to be, this was designated and zoned, this has been zoned for, designated for a single family house, and I don't see any reason why that can't be done, and there's no evidence put forth for that reason. So for that, I mean, that's my greatest sticking point.
Okay. Thank you very much. Commissioner Corcoran?
I also am not in favor of this, but I want to just point to one reason, and that is our point number 5 on how it protects the property values in the neighborhood and enhances the community, and also addresses the special permit issue, and that is that from my point of view, what you see at ground level for this building is 12 garage doors. And above it is living spaces. And I don't think there's any other structure in the area that fits this description, or that this fits in with the kind of architecture that is in this area. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Levy?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, I live in close proximity to this proposed area, proposed development. And so it's literally in my backyard. And I drive by the property 4 to 6 times a day. But I also recognize that my role is to serve the interests of the entire town. And I've heard many of my neighbors, immediate neighbors, come forward and oppose this project, and I've heard some of my neighbors who are in favor of it. And my personal position would be to support this proposal. And my reason is that while not every piece of property has to be developed, there's little doubt in my mind that this property will be developed. To develop it as a single-family home, which requires putting in a 50-foot road, is probably not economically feasible or viable for any developer. So, in that context, I don't think that the existing zone as an A or a Residence 3 will allow for any economically viable development. That being said, the plan of development does encourage the development of additional housing in this center district. And the advantage of the center district is one where people are able to walk to town. There's quite a bit, we don't drive. We always walk into town. And this would allow, 6 either couples or millennials, it's not likely to be families buying these units, but it would allow 6 people to live in the center district, which is, a wonderful place to live, and have the benefit of being able to access all of the amenities of this town. I think it also would serve the town in the sense that from a standpoint of tax revenues, it would be considerable, because we're probably talking $1 million plus for 6 units, and that would serve to help the general benefit, and would serve to the general benefit of the town. As far as, it is not in the historic district. When you drive by this property right now, what you see is the back of the brick walk and a parking lot. I personally think that looking at these units would be far more appealing, and I note that the proposal, there must be between 75 and 100 trees going in. So to the extent, I think it would definitely be an improvement rather than looking beyond the Sterling home and seeing the back of the brick walk. And in terms of the zone change, we have a commercial district on one side, and we have a residential and historic district on the other. At one point, there was an inn on that corner, and that would have been a wonderful addition. Instead, what we have is a foundation surrounded by junk trees, which has been there for about 15 years when a plan to revitalize that inn and cafe was opposed. In terms of the West Morgan Street there, which was 3 residences, I find this far more appealing than what I see on West Morgan, frankly. And based upon that, I think having an overlay district, which is what this would be for the residential design district, would be an advantage. It would serve as a buffer as between the commercial district in the back, the brick walk, and the historical district. I think visually, in fact, if developed, it would be an improvement. I know from this, between the trees in this proposal and, for instance, on the Gasser-Berg property that adjoin it, there's a great deal of trees around it, and also which would, buffer it from the surrounding area. I think in terms of the town as a whole, this development would be a positive, and I think it would bring more people downtown, more tax revenue, and would enable people to get the benefit of being able to walk to the center of town. In terms of traffic, yeah, it's a problem. I deal with it every day. 9 o'clock when the St. Paul's Nursery School is coming and going, you wait. But This would be, according to the traffic study, a fraction of a percent additional, and the applicant's willingness to make the exit onto the exit a right turn only would satisfy any traffic considerations. And while there's a great deal about bugaboo the traffic is there. This would make no difference to my mind. So from my perspective, I would vote to approve this, or I would oppose the motion to deny. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Commissioner Gordon.
So I just had a thought while he was speaking, because I also see both sides of it. I think that there's pros and cons to everything, but I wonder also about the precedent that's set, because then you do this one, and then the person next says, oh, but there's a multiple housing right there, then I want to change my house because it's right next to it, and then how far does that?
Yeah. It's a good point. You know, we say very frequently here that, you know, our decisions are not binding in one application, you know, on other applications. And so technically, as a matter of, you know, law, it's not precedent. But I think sort of practically speaking, it does set the tone. And it sends a message to developers and others that you know, we're amenable to hearing and considering applications which, you know, might not otherwise meet the, you know, strict requirements of our considerations. And I'm very sensitive to that. I appreciate that. And so to that end, you actually segued quite nicely for me to comment on Commissioner Levy's points. To that end, that is why I think we need to very carefully consider the application for a zone change on the merits of the considerations that we are bound to look at. And I don't disagree with many of the things that you said, Commissioner Levy. But when folks purchase their homes in certain areas, like the folks on West Morgan, in a single-family zone, they don't expect one day to have condominiums in their backyard, literally in their backyard the next day, as proximate as they are to the brick walk. And I'm sensitive to that as well. And so we do have to keep in mind the town as a whole, very sensitive to that. And so when I look at, not you, now it's me, and when I look at the individual considerations that we are supposed to bind ourselves to, you know, is the proposal consistent with the plan of conservation and development? The only thing I heard was that this might form a transition, right, from commercial to residential. And that just didn't fly with me. I mean, a transitional zone or area is one which is connected to the other area, like on the street, like we see from, like on Sasko Hill Road, right, where there's a transitional area between the post road and the residential, you know, parcels that go down Sasko Hill, or Pine Creek, South Pine Creek, from the post road in that transitional area. I found that to be, frankly, a little disingenuous. I found that to be an applicant trying their best, as they must, to find something in the plan to hang their hat on. And I didn't find that to be compelling. Contrary to that, there are portions of the plan, I think, which counsel against the zone change, which were, I think, cogently brought forward by some of the members of the public that spoke, who raised the portions of the master plan that talked about maintaining the historic character of the old Post Road corridor and such. And so, number one, for me, was pretty clearly no. Number two, does time, experience, and responsible planning for contemporary and future conditions indicate the need for the change? Well, this parcel has been here for 50 years in the same configuration, the same state that it has been in for a half century. I mean, I don't understand how we could come to a different conclusion than no. Time and experience and responsible planning doesn't indicate a need for this to happen. The need here is that a developer identified an opportunity and put together some, a proposal and got the families together and said, hey, can we figure out a way to make this work to develop this parcel? Because otherwise it's landlocked. And my comment to Mr. Sterling, I appreciated his voicing his concerns as well, is that, he holds the keys here. He doesn't have to do anything. He said he had 3 options that he could do. Well, there's a 4th, and that's to do nothing. Okay? Every shred of land in the town does not need to be developed. So no, I don't think that time and experience indicates a need for this change. Number 3, have circumstances in the neighborhood changed substantially to warrant the requested zone change? Well, I think the answer to that is pretty resoundingly clear as well. Circumstances haven't changed at all, let alone to indicate a need for the change. Has it been demonstrated that it's warranted to serve the health, welfare, and safety of the town? I mean, here we had a little bit of, I think, benefit to the applicant because, it would serve to increase the tax revenue for the homes, although I don't know why we wouldn't think families would live here because these are 3,000 square foot, $1 million homes. Why? I don't know why a family wouldn't live here. That was actually another point that the members of the public made. I thought that was really pretty compelling. I don't understand why this would be for empty nesters or for millennials. These are quite nice. The proposal, anyway, was for quite large and nice homes. So, that one kind of, okay, maybe could go either way. Does the proposed change promote a level of development serve to protect the property values in the neighborhood and enhance the community and accomplish a transition? Well, I spoke to the transition, but no, I don't think this would enhance the property values of the neighborhood. The folks on West Morgan wouldn't, I don't think, agree with that their home values would increase or be protected by the prospect of condominiums going up in their backyard. So, to the point of it being precedent, to the point of us staying true to the standards by which we have to judge these things, I don't think the case was made. And so I'm going to be also voting yes on the motion to deny. But I'm glad that we were able to articulate that together. Does anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay. So the motion on the table is to deny. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. And so the motion to deny carries 6-1. Commissioner Levy voting against. So the next item is, 766 and 780 Old Post Road, special permit application of Old Post Village LLC for an 8-unit residential development.
Mr. Chairman, you have my written report. I don't feel there's a need to articulate that at this point, since in the absence of the zone change, I don't think the commission has any other option but to deny the special permit application.
Very good, thank you. Can I have a motion? Motion denied by Commissioner McAleese.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Francis. Okay. Any comments or questions on this in light? No. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. That motion carries unanimously. Okay. And so the last item on our agenda is the public hearing, which has been withdrawn. And so there being no further business, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
One brief announcement. We'd had some email exchanges back and forth about saving some dates for potential our next TOD workshop meeting with the Economic Development Commission. That's looking now like it's going to be Thursday, the 7th of February. We'll firm that up, but I'll send an email. I just want to To be, so,
February
Thursday,
7th?
Thursday, February 7th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Didn't carry any weight, but.
Well, yeah,